Om Shanti. Today in the Murli, Baba says we are at war. Yes, and Baba says that we are at war, and most people are not even aware that, not even that they are under attack, but Baba says that they have been defeated by Maya. And you see the miserable state of a slave, and sometimes when there is somebody who knows what it is to not be a slave, has a lot of compassion for somebody who has a slave and has forgotten how to not be a slave. And that is Baba's compassion today. And Baba says that we don't even realize that we have been defeated, overthrown by Maya. And Maya is just, vanquished us, and now she is using us as a slave. So, and we are happy being slaves, or we were happy being slaves until we learned how to not be a slave. And Baba says most people in the world today are in the condition where they are happy being slaves, and then they don't have any idea how to be otherwise. And here Baba is teaching us how to not even stop being a slave, but Baba says that I am teaching you how to take back your kingdom from Ravan. And so Baba uses these words to express what I just said. Baba says, the poor world is in complete darkness at this time. They don't know that they have been defeated. They have been defeated by Maya, and no one even knows what Maya is. And then Baba says, there was the kingdom of Ravan over the whole of Lanka. So you know that Lanka is depicted as golden. So Lanka was made of gold. So Baba says, in this very Bharat, it was a golden-aged world. And now Ravan rules over it. So it is this golden-aged society that we had. And then now Ravan has taken over it. And then Baba says that there is a very big celebrated story of Ram winning over Ravan. Yes, and then Ram becoming the king. But Baba says, in Ram Rajya, not only will Ram be the king, but there will be subjects, and there will be, wealthy people also. So it will be a whole kingdom. And in the Shastra, there is a very good expression that Ram Raja, Ram Praja, Ram Sahukar hai, Base Nagri Je Raja Dharam Ka Upkar hai. So when you describe Ram Rajya, it is described as a kingdom where the king is Ram, and the subjects are Ram, and the wealthy people are also Ram. Yes, and why? Because Baba says that in the golden age, everybody will be divine. And then Baba says, Ravan is not a person, Ravan is the vices. And then it's not just one Ram who has to fight Ravan. It is so many those who have to be in the kingdom. So, in the kingdom, everybody is Ram. So, the Raja is Ram, the Praja is Ram, the Sahukar is Ram. So, according to that saying also, if you look at it, then everybody in the kingdom is supposed to be divine. And we all have to fight this war against Ravan now. So it's not just one Ram who has to win over Ravan, but every soul who is under Ravan Rajya right now has to defeat Ravan, and then we'll go to Ram Rajya. So Ram Rajya is not when one person becomes Ram. So, and it's not about a physical war, it's about this whole world where Ravan has taken over, and then every soul has to win the war to go to Ram Rajya. And then Baba today says that, so God has been associated with war. So in the Mahabharata war also, God played a role, and in the Ramayana also, God fought the war, is what we hear or have heard. And in the scriptures, there are a lot of stories about God and wars. But Baba says, this war is completely incognito. It's not that kind of a war that you have read in the scriptures. And in this incognito war, it's not about, there are two words that Baba uses for this war. First is it's an incognito war, and the second is it is a war which is viceless. So it is a non-violent war. So it's an incognito war and it's a non-violent war. So Baba says in the scriptures you read that you could see the war. It was a physical war and it was a violent war. But Baba says that's not how you fight a war against Ravan. So it's an invisible war. Nobody can see it. And are you fighting that war all day? Yes? Yes. And nobody knows that you're fighting a war. And there are many people who are not fighting at all because they've surrendered to Ravan. And then they think that our life is miserable because we are fighting the war. But our life is not miserable because we have realized that we had been defeated and now we are standing up and fighting. But that war is very invisible and it's a non-violent war. And when it is a violent war, then the weapons are weapons of, violence. And when it is a non-violent war, then the weapons are that of non-violence or viceless weapons. So, when you fight a violent war, you need to equip yourself a lot with the weapons of lust and anger. And yes, if you're not angry, you cannot fight a war, can you, in the world externally? So you need the vices to fight a war. And there was this one person who shared that in the army also, when they fight a war, they drink a lot. So a lot of alcohol consumption, because that's what keeps you very charged. And so you need the charge of vices when you fight a physical war, because a physical war is fought with lust and anger. And these days you want to defeat somebody, people even use lust as a weapon. Yes, so they will go and abuse somebody, molest somebody, and that's their way of taking a revenge. So these are the ways in which, so vices are the weapons of a violent war. But when you want to fight a non-violent war, then vicelessness is the weapon. So, and Baba says that when you're very viceless, and then Baba says when you're viceless, then your wireless will work well. So you have to use the power of remembrance to win over Ravan. So you will remember Baba very well when you're viceless. So your wireless will be functional, and then you will take signals from Baba and you will be winning this war against Ravan. And then Baba says that, and you know that in the world, when there is a war and there is a warrior, then the warrior is supposed to do only two things. So, what does the warrior do? Two things: practice when there is no war, and apply when there is war. Yes, so you keep increasing your skill set, your proficiency, and Baba says that being viceless means being full of virtues, divine virtues. So, and this is a very interesting thing that Baba says in the Murli, because sometimes, it's very important to understand certain terms. So, Baba says that you want to win the war against Ravan, you need to be viceless. Now, sometimes, people will say, oh, I am viceless. I don't have lust, I don't have ego, I don't have anger. Yes, and on a good day, we are not aware of our ego or anger or lust. So, we are pretty normal every day. And then we are bizarre on other days and at some times. So that's something that we understand. But in the world, it's very difficult to check whether there is vice or there is vicelessness. So even with ourselves, Baba has given us a very good test. So Baba says, vicelessness is equal to being filled with divine virtues. So, if I don't have divine virtues, now what are divine virtues? Humility, patience, compassion, sweetness, purity. Yes. So these are some of the divine virtues. Now, tolerance is a divine virtue. Then kindness is a divine virtue. So there are many divine virtues which you can think of. And if I think I'm viceless, then I need to check my divine virtues. Because, I've seen people who spend, all day in the corner of a bed, never getting up from the bed. And then as soon as they get up, they're upset about something or the other. And then they say that the world is bad and they're miserable because of that. And otherwise, their nature is very sweet. But I don't want to say this, but even a snake sitting in the corner is pretty sweet to look at. But that doesn't mean that the venom is not inside. So that's not how it works. So, when you're full of divine virtues in action, because divine virtues always express themselves in action. And when you check for yourself in action that am I full of divine virtues? Do I talk sweetly? Do I wait patiently? And I have seen that the way you wait is a very good expression of who you are. So, and most of the times in our life, we have to wait. Waiting and patience is a very big quality. Now, you just look at it, you open a website and there is buffering going on, and then you have to wait. You are waiting for a delivery, you are waiting for some work, you are waiting for a person. And most of our life, we are waiting for something or the other. It's 1 minute wait, sometimes it's a half an hour wait, sometimes you're waiting to reach somewhere, you are traveling. So patience is a very big quality to have. And if I don't have patience, then it's a big lack of a divine virtue. So how you wait? So patience is waiting with positivity. So, we have to check for every divine virtue within ourselves, whether it's present or not. So, keeping quiet all the time, yes, not talking when not necessary is a virtue. But when you talk, if every time you talk, it has to be a comment or a judgment, or it has to be harsh, or your choice of words are such that you have to upset somebody, that's not that's not divine virtue. You must know how to talk sweetly. You must know how to communicate politely. That's a divine virtue. And Baba says that these are the divine virtues that show whether we are up or down on the scale of viciousness. And then there is purity. So, if you constantly need to engage your senses in sensual pleasure, that means you are a very needy kind of a person, and that's not divine at all. Neediness is a sign of vices. So Baba says you have to remember me, and you have to. So remembering Baba doesn't only mean, becoming a point and seeing the point. That's not all. So Baba is the ocean of knowledge. So remembering what Baba says is also remembering Baba. Remembering Baba as the ocean of peace means something else. So when you remember Baba as the ocean of peace, you are still and silent and peaceful. When you remember Baba as the ocean of purity, then you feel like you are in this world but not of this world, which is nothing in this world is touching you or affecting you. So we have to remember Baba in each of his virtues. So, Baba is such a vast ocean, it's very difficult to get all of him at once. So, when you sit to remember Baba, getting the whole of Baba into your consciousness at once is very difficult. So we remember Baba as one facet of Baba someday and the other facet of Baba someday. So one day remember Baba as the ocean of knowledge, or 15 minutes as the ocean of knowledge, and 10 minutes as the ocean of peace. So you can divide your meditation like that. And then Baba as the ocean of love will change you into a loveful being. So when we remember Baba, and then there are other ways also to remember Baba, which is in different relationships. So my relationship with Baba is he's the parent and I am the child, or he's the teacher and I am the student. So this will also help me cultivate virtues within me, because I don't know how to behave as a student, do I? I don't know how to behave as a child. So in normal upbringing. So these days nobody has a normal upbringing. We are all very, we have grown up in dysfunctional environments. Although we would like to believe it was very functional, but it was not. So in dysfunctional environments and families, we are all growing up, and then we don't know how to. We have not developed the virtues which would have been developed if we had parents who were perfect or teachers who were perfect. So these remembering Baba in different relationships will also help us emerge many divine virtues. Like one divine virtue is obedience. Now, if you try to practice this with others, it will become very difficult. So you only practice it with Baba. So when you see Baba as your parent, then you develop the divine virtue of obedience. And if you have the divine virtue of obedience, then you will be able to say to drama, it's okay. So, this obedience is connected to acceptance. So all of these things are very connected. So Baba says that you remember me a lot, and then check whether you have divine virtues within yourself. And when you check for your vicelessness, when you check for your divine virtues, then you understand that with these divine virtues, you will be able to wage the war with Ravan. Yes, so keep practicing whenever there is a gap. So whenever there is a break, whenever you have the opportunity to not be at war, then you practice. And then whenever there is a situation or a behavior, then you apply the divine virtues and you cross the situation or the problem with divinity, with divine virtues. So just make a note, like just think about, you can use 10 seconds and think about how different situations that come up during the day only need one thing, which is divine virtues. Yes, some situation needs you to be calm, some situation needs you to wait, some situation needs you to respond sweetly, some situation needs you to have courage. So courage is also a divine virtue, not only sweetness. So if you have lack of courage also, you might, give up when you don't need to give up. So you need to, in every situation, what it actually demands from you is one or the other form of embodiment of a divine virtue. And if you keep doing that, then slowly, gradually, you will win over Ravan. And Baba says, you will not only do it for yourself. So first thing is, you will be free from Ravan Rajya. And then second thing is, you will also set Bharat free from Ravan Rajya. So this whole nation will be free. In fact, the whole world will be free of Ravan Rajya only when you fight this incognito war. And any war is not fought just with intention or with courage. It is fought with strategy. So you need a strategy. Yes, you need a proper strategy to adorn yourself with powers and virtues and make a plan so that you fill yourself with enough power and virtues, enough power of remembrance, enough power of virtues, so that you can apply it whenever there is a situation. And if you're not very strategic, then you might end up losing the war. Okay, so this is something that Baba says. And then Baba today says, so there is this ad which comes, Daag Achhe Hain. So there are some things that Baba tells from time to time, and so Baba uses these two words today. First is fear and second is concern. So usually Baba says, don't worry, don't be afraid. But in the Murli today, interestingly, Baba says, you should worry about one thing, which is you should worry about getting a good status in Satyug. So don't become careless about that. You should be concerned about it. Yes, so this is one concern you should have. And then connected to that, Baba uses another thing. Baba says, don't be concerned about the storms of Maya. So, be concerned about your status and don't be concerned about storms of Maya. So, the most beautiful thing, and I don't know if you've heard this story, but most of you must have. So, there is this old story from Bhakti that there was a king and he was presented with a ring, and in that ring, so I think his wife or his mother, whoever presented it to him, said that when you lose everything and on top of that you lose all hope, then there is an inscription on this ring which you open and then see. Yes, so there is a gift which I have given you, and you just open it when you have lost everything, and most importantly, you've lost hope. And then the king just wore that ring and he forgot about it. And years later, there was a situation where he had lost many wars, one after the other. And then he was at a point where he wanted to commit suicide. And then he just was reminded of the ring and he thought, okay, before I commit suicide, let me just see what's written. And then he checked, and there was an inscription on that ring which said, "This too shall pass. This too shall pass." And then when that sat in his buddhi, that, when everything passed, he had such a big kingdom and that is not there today, then this situation is also not going to stay forever. And I think Baba also gives us this knowledge of the drama. So, the drama is made up second by second. And, when you watch a cartoon, so you watch a continuous cartoon, right? But if you go and understand the science behind it, then in 1 second of the video that you watch, there are around 24 frames. So there are 24 frames adjusted one after the other, and it looks like a continuous 1 second cartoon. And Baba says, this continuity that you experience in drama is actually a very discontinuous thing. So, every second by second, this is arranged. And if you just kept that in mind, that the last second and the present second are not the same. And anything that happened last second is not necessarily going to continue right now. So I have a fresh second and I can make a fresh start. And this can be about anything. And when you are in a storm of Maya, if you just remember this one thing, then you will not care about the storm. You will care about your stage, which is going to help you in shifting from the storm to calm. Okay, so that's what Baba says. So don't be concerned about the storms of Maya, because storms come and go. But you have to build your stage within that storm so that you stay intact. So these are the two things about concern that Baba says. And then Baba says, I always ask you not to be afraid of anything. But one thing you should be afraid of, and that is, you should be afraid of performing sinful actions. Okay, and you should always know that Baba is watching you. And you should have the fear that Baba will not like it if he sees you performing sinful actions. And this will save you from performing sinful actions. So Baba says, if you keep this one fear of Baba, then this will save you from performing sinful actions. So have this one fear. So this is also something that Baba says. And then in the Murli, Baba says that, so Baba puts it very nicely, so let me read it out to you. Baba says, they say that you should read the scriptures, that those who don't study them are called atheists. So, people say those who don't read scriptures are atheists. The Father says, by studying the scriptures, all of you have become atheists. So now there is a reason why Baba says this. So people think that those who believe in God are atheists. But Baba says, if you don't know God, then you are an atheist. So people have become very far away. So people have really gone very far away from the truth of who is God and what is the truth about creation by reading the scriptures. Yes. And another thing very interesting is you kept listening to what Ram did to Ravan, and you kept allowing Ravan do the same thing to you. And you never figured that out. So, just like if you keep looking out of the window and are very interested in another person's story, then your own house gets robbed in the process. So Baba says, this is what happened. We kept looking out. So, history is a very interesting word. History means his story. So you are always interested in his story. And what about your story? So your story was lost in the process. And then you became very far away from your story. You never cared about what your story is or how do you redeem yourself. Let alone redeem yourself, you didn't even figure out you were defeated. So Baba says people think that those who don't read scriptures are atheists, but actually you became atheist by reading scriptures. So, and atheist means somebody who doesn't know Baba and the creation and the secrets of the creation. Now there is this question, when to use which divine virtue to face situations is difficult to find. Now my question is, do you have every divine virtue? Yes, because if you don't have something, so you cannot learn to drive a car without having a car. Yes, so when you have a car, you will learn how to drive it. Yes, so it's that is the thing. So you have to understand that what is the right question. So do I have divine virtues? If I have divine virtues, then I will also have the sensibility to use it. But the problem is not that I don't know how to use divine virtues, I don't have them. If I had, they would emerge themselves at the right time. Yes, because a soul full of virtues, so just like when the body is healthy, then your organs will function well. So the soul is like the soul, when it's full, then the organs, the mind, intellect, and sanskars will function well. So when I, the soul, am full of divine virtues, then my buddhi, which discerns and decides, will work well, and I will be able to apply the divine virtues where I have to. But the thing is, I don't have them. That's why when I try to apply one, I fall short of it and I cannot apply it. So I apply what I have. Okay, and let me tell you another thing. A divine virtue is a divine virtue only when applied at the right time. Yes, only when applied at the right time and for the right reason. When the reason is not right, when the timing is not right, so then the divine virtue loses its power. So let me give you an example. So love is a divine virtue, yes? But if you only use it when you are attached to someone, then it's a vice. Yes, forgiveness is a divine virtue, but you are only applying it to people you are attached to, then it's a vice. It's called sheltering the wrong. Yes, so you think that you're forgiving somebody, but you're only forgiving because you are attached to that person. And in that forgiveness, there is no strength, there is attachment. So then that attachment sends out the wrong message, and the person figures out that they will be able to get away with everything and anything. And that's a wrong message we have sent. So when we talk about divine virtues, the intention or the reason for it, for applying it, and the timing of it is very, very important. Yes, so let's say, this divine virtue of tolerance. So, tolerance is a divine virtue, but then if you only apply it to your boss and not to your junior, yes, so that's not tolerance. Yes, that's that's the probably your so it's a very body conscious way of approaching it because you're doing it where it benefits you. And so I'll tell you this one thing. So there's this brother, and he came and he said that, whenever I go to I'm driving, so I keep looking at my face, and whenever there is a frown on my face, I correct it because I don't want to appear, a person who is grumbling all the time. So I check the frowns and I correct it. So I asked him, when do you do that? When you're driving to work or when you're driving back home? So he said, I think I do that when I drive to work. So I said, that's not divine virtue, that's greed. So you are interested in not losing the project. So you don't want to be appearing frowning. But when you are driving back home, you don't care how you appear to your wife or your children. So you come back with the frowning face, right? So he said, yes, Didi, but how do you know that? So I said, I know myself, so I know everybody. So I have done that, made that journey. So we know how we start and we know what are the problems inside of us. So, everything, there is a disclaimer to everything, and then we have to take care of little things while treading this path. So good that you asked this question. It started a lot of rumination. Now, Baba today says that, yes, and Baba talks about truthfulness to Baba today and honesty. So, honesty is a very difficult thing to understand because what I understand is there is with 63 births of this Ravan Rajya, we have a self-defense mechanism inside. So, in every wrong we do, we justify it really well inside. So, honesty, so just like, decorating your face is not just about touching it up in any which way you like. It's about going to the mirror, checking, and then correcting, wherever it needs correction. Similarly, honesty is also related to you looking in the mirror of Srimad. So, when you sit in silence, we have to look into the mirror of Srimad and see where it is that the scars lie. So, if I'm just body conscious and I want to find out my mistakes, it's very difficult. So you always tend to justify your mistakes, and the biggest tool is blame. So we need to sit with ourselves, sit in a soul conscious state and emerge Baba and remember Srimad, and then be honest to ourselves that, okay, I made these mistakes today. And when I'm honest, then I offer it to Baba. And in that also there has to be honesty, because an honest offering means you want to change. And Baba says this truth and honesty will make you change. Otherwise, one evil sanskar after the other, and then, it makes you do one bad karma after the other, and then the stock of bad karma is only increasing. And if we want to redeem ourselves, we have to make this effort of sitting in soul conscious, looking into the mirror of Srimad. So, Baba says that in the Murli today, Baba has very categorically said, don't defame anyone. किसी की निंदा मत करो. Yes, so if I have performed one act of defaming somebody in the day, let me just look into the mirror of Srimad and check that that was not okay. So even if I have 100 reasons or they defame me 200 times, still that's not okay. So until and unless you look into the mirror of Srimad, it's very difficult to figure out where the scar lies, and being honest is all about first honest checking. So that's something that Baba tells, that we have to be truthful and honest to Baba and take the power to change. And then Baba today says in the slogan, instead of being action conscious, become soul conscious. So, the soul is the doer of the action. And when you are action conscious, then the action goes wrong, that is, the result goes wrong. Then you, the soul, lose your state of calm and happiness. But if you're soul conscious, then you don't mind what went wrong outside. You first correct what went wrong inside, and then gradually it leads to correction on the outside also. So don't be action conscious, be soul conscious. Om Shanti.